at a restaurant with his family. I offered to pay the bill. My husband snatched my card and said, "You can't afford this." His mother laughed. "Let the men handle real things." I smiled politely and excused myself. An hour later, they were desperately calling me because I'm not the type to make scenes. Never have been. But this was the moment everything changed. Last Saturday, I was sitting at a steakhouse in Charlotte with my husband Eric and his family. We were there for his dad's retirement dinner. I didn't want to go. I almost backed out twice that week. But I showed up anyway because I've always done what's expected of me. I used to think that keeping the peace was more important than standing up for myself. We were seated at this long table near the back of the restaurant. 8 of us. Eric and me, his parents, his sister Jenna and her latest boyfriend, and Eric's cousin with his wife. I already knew it was going to be a long night. His mom, Patricia, doesn't try to hide how little she thinks of me. She thinks I'm beneath her son. She's made that clear from the beginning. The moment we sat down, she gave me that look, tight smile, eyes scanning my outfit like she was doing inventory at a thrift store. "Still running that little online thing?" she asked.
She always says it like that. Little.
Never mind that I own a digital marketing firm that just crossed $600,000 in revenue this year. I've got 5 employees. I built it from nothing after getting laid off in 2020. But to her, it's still just a little project. I said, "Yes, it's doing well," and left it at that. Eric didn't jump in. He never does. Dinner dragged on. They were ordering top-shelf whiskey, oysters, crab cakes, $60 ribeyes like they were appetizers. I just sat there, smiling, sipping water, quietly eating my grilled chicken. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted the night to end. When the server dropped the check at the table, there was this awkward silence. Nobody reached for it. It just sat there in the middle like a live grenade. So I pulled out my card. Calmly, I said, "I've got it." I didn't say it to show off. I just wanted to take care of it. I was proud of how far I'd come. Paying for dinner didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a milestone. But before I could even place the card in the booklet, Eric snatched it out of my hand. "Are you serious?" he said, laughing. "You can't afford this." His voice was loud. Everyone at the table heard. They all laughed. Even his mother chimed in with, "Let the men handle real things." The heat in my face was instant. My stomach turned, but I didn't react. I didn't argue or defend myself. I just smiled, like I always do. And I said, "Excuse me for a moment." I stood up, walked out of that restaurant and kept walking. Didn't even look back. I got in my car, drove home in silence, and locked the door behind me. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry. What I felt was done. So completely done being disrespected and laughed at like I was a joke in my own marriage. About an hour later, my phone started blowing up. First it was Eric. "Where the hell did you go?" Then Jenna. "Seriously? You just walked out?" Then his mother. "Very immature. Come back and fix this." Apparently, none of them brought enough to cover the bill. Eric left his wallet at home, as usual. His mom only carries her lady's card, which apparently doesn't work without a pin she forgot. Jenna's boyfriend?
Declined. Twice.
And now the waitress was waiting. Management was involved. They were trying to figure out how to pay a $600 dinner bill without a working card between the 7 of them. I didn't answer. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on the couch, and watched the calls come in. Then the texts. Then the voicemails. The panic in their voices was better than any movie I've ever watched. That night, Eric came home around midnight, slamming doors, yelling, said I embarrassed him, said I made his whole family look like fools. I just looked at him and said, "You did that all on your own." He slept on the couch that night. That was 6 nights ago. And ever since then, I've been making quiet moves. Financial, legal, personal. Because this wasn't just one dinner. This was the last straw in a pile that's been building for years. They don't know it yet, but everything is about to change. He laughed at me in public. Now I'm taking everything he took for granted. After that night at the restaurant, something inside me shifted. For years, I'd made myself smaller for Eric and his family. I let them treat me like a side piece in my own marriage. But that night gave me clarity. Real, sharp, painful clarity. I stopped making dinner. Stopped doing his laundry. Stopped answering his calls when he was out late drinking with his coworkers. I didn't announce it. I just started acting like he didn't live here anymore. He noticed after 2 days. "What's going on with you?" he asked while hovering near the kitchen one night. "You still pissed about Saturday?" I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I'm done being disrespected in my own life."
He scoffed.
"It was a joke. It wasn't funny," I said. And it wasn't the first time. He tried to change the subject, but I wasn't playing along anymore. For the first time in 10 years, I wasn't scared of upsetting him. That same week, I met with my accountant. I had been smart with my business. Everything was under my name, bank accounts, business license, trademarks. Eric had always treated my work like a hobby, and I let him think that. But it was real. It was solid. And I was finally ready to protect it. Next, I met with a lawyer. Quietly. No drama. Just facts. I learned that North Carolina is an equitable distribution state, but since my business was started after we got married and was solely run and funded by me, it would likely remain mine, especially since Eric never contributed and my books were clean. While I moved in silence, Eric started unraveling. He began showing up at my office. Once, he stormed in during a staff meeting and demanded I stop acting brand new. My employees just stared at him like he was crazy. I calmly walked him out and changed the door code that same day. Then his mother called. "I raised him better than this," she said, trying to sound composed. "No, you didn't," I said and hung up. The following week, Jenna posted something on Facebook about how some women forget who had their back when they were nothing. I ignored it, but screenshots were sent to me by friends.
She was clearly talking about me.
She even tagged her mom in the comments. Meanwhile, Eric was digging himself deeper. I started going through our joint finances. Turns out he'd opened a line of credit using our shared account months ago, without telling me. The payments were late. My name was on it. That's when I got serious. I filed a police report for financial fraud. My lawyer helped me draft a formal separation agreement. I moved half the money from our joint savings into an account under my name. I also locked down my credit with all 3 bureaus and flagged my business for fraud protection. Then I moved out. Quietly. I rented a furnished apartment downtown, 10 minutes from my office. Left the house key on the counter. No note. No explanation. The next morning, Eric called 23 times. Left 6 voicemails. The last one was just him sobbing. His mom tried again. "You're overreacting. He's just under pressure. Don't ruin your marriage over one bad night." I replied, "He ruined it over 10 years of them. I haven't spoken to any of them since. But they're about to hear from me again. Just not in the way they expect." 2 weeks after I moved out, I got a letter from the bank. Eric had tried to withdraw $15,000 from our joint account, the one I'd already split and flagged. He failed, obviously, but it told me one thing. He was desperate. I ignored his texts. Most were angry. A few tried to sound sweet. "We can fix this. You know I love you." I knew the pattern. He wasn't sorry. He was scared. That same week, I got a call from a woman named Carla. She said she used to work with Eric, then hesitated. "I probably shouldn't be telling you this," she said, "but I figured you deserve to know. He used your business name to get a private client. Claimed he owned half your company." My stomach dropped. She sent over the invoice. My company logo. My address. His name listed as co-founder. It was a contract worth $8,000. Money he had pocketed without me ever knowing. That was it. That was the match that lit the fire. I sent it all to my attorney. The fraud. The forged invoice. The misrepresentation. We filed an official cease and desist against Eric and the client, forcing them to terminate the contract immediately. I also filed a civil suit. And since it involved misusing my business for personal gain, it gave me the grounds to accelerate the divorce filing. But I wasn't done. One of the biggest twists came from someone I didn't expect, Eric's cousin's wife, Marie. She texted me out of nowhere. "Can we talk privately?" We met for coffee. She looked nervous. "Eric's been running his mouth," she said. "Told everyone you were broke, that you left because you were cheating. He said you drained the accounts and ran off with some client." She slid her phone across the table. It was a group chat between Eric, his sister, and their mom. Message after message of lies. How I had mental problems, how I was failing, how I only married Eric to use him. They were trying to ruin me, my name, my business, my reputation. And in their heads, they thought they'd get away with it. So, I made a move they didn't see coming. I posted receipts. Not emotionally. Not dramatically. Just facts. I put together a calm, detailed post on Facebook, with dates, documents, and screen grabs showing Eric's forged contract, his fraud, his credit line, and even the texts from his own cousin's wife. It spread fast. Dozens of people in our circle saw it. Clients reached out shocked. Friends I hadn't heard from in years called to say they were proud of me. His boss even saw it. Someone had forwarded the post to HR. I heard through Marie that Eric was suspended pending an internal review. His sister deleted her Facebook for a while. His mom sent me a 3-paragraph email full of blame, denial, and finally, begging. "I know he messed up, but this is family. Please don't destroy him." I never replied. Let them sit in it. And still, I haven't delivered the final blow. Eric didn't believe I would go through with it.
Not really.
He thought if he ignored the legal papers, it would all just fade. That I would back down. That I was still the same woman who used to beg for his attention while he scrolled on his phone. But I wasn't her anymore. The day of the court hearing, he didn't show. His lawyer did. Alone. He looked tired. Told the judge Eric had lost his job 2 days earlier and couldn't afford to keep fighting the case. The judge reviewed the fraud evidence, the financial records, the forged contracts, the texts, and the separation of business assets. Then he ruled in my favor. All of it. The business. The apartment. My portion of the house sale. I even got awarded legal fees. The credit card Eric took out in my name? Declared fraud. Off my record. And because of his forged documents and false business claims, he was now under IRS review. I didn't need to press criminal charges. The state picked it up on their own. One move too greedy, and he brought the law down on himself. I sold the house. Took my half. Used the money to upgrade my office space and expand my team. My business tripled in revenue in 6 months. I finally started paying myself what I was worth. People came out of the woodwork after the dust settled. Old friends. Eric's exes. Women who said he had lied to them, too. Manipulated them. They thanked me. Said I gave them closure.
I didn't care about that.
I hadn't done this for them. I had done it for me. But it felt good. His sister tried to add me on Instagram a few weeks later. I blocked her. His mother sent a handwritten apology through a mutual friend. I threw it away. You don't get to play victim after building the fire. Eric emailed me once. Just once. The subject line said, "You won." I didn't reply, because it wasn't about winning. It was about finally being free from a life that kept me small. A life I had been too afraid to leave. The truth is, I let things slide for too long. I let love blind me. I let respect get chipped away until there was none left. That's on me. But once I woke up, I didn't go back to sleep. He humiliated me in front of his whole family. Now I walk past that same restaurant with my head high, my bank account full, and no one telling me what I can or can't afford. He lost me. That was the most expensive bill he'll ever pay.